Hello guys, my name is Amy and welcome to the highlight video for the latest race that was at France. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to say this now, not much happens, but everything happens at the start. That's pretty much it. Obviously because of how open France is, as you can see from this mini highlight video, not many walls to hit, a lot of runoff area, so the potential for not many DNFs. You can tell it's a boring race when the highlight video gives you a pit entry, which the pit entry was fine. I can't see a problem with that. But yeah, it's one of them. I did spend most of the race on my own, unfortunately, which is a good thing because less people to hit, minus that guy that does spin, but that's fine. I didn't touch him, he spun himself, but we'll get to that when we get there. But first, qualifying. So on to my first qualifying lap, and as you can tell, not as bad as Canada, but it is slightly raining. Now, quite a few people have been out, hence the dry line starting to appear. Only bad enough for inters, so not horrendously bad. The downside is this lasts the entire qualifying. Now, we have parc fermé rules on, and it is a dry race. So I kind of have to do the dry setup in qualifying so that I get a good race. So it's one of them. I still don't think I do too bad, even though it is wet with basically the wrong setup. I did manage to get quite a bit of practice in. Obviously I had the week off, plus we all jumped in before we opened the lobby. That corner I tend to cut quite a lot, but we're on regular, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, it's one of them. Overall, not a bad lap, I'd say. Strategy wise is a bit of an iffy one, because obviously I don't know how the dry tyres run, but anyway, coming up to the end of the lap, and even though wrong setup in the wet on inters, P10. It's one of them. I'll take it. Checkered flag on qualifying then. I do go out for another run, as you can see, 2 green sectors, so improved quite a bit. They're a brand new set of tyres. The rain seems to have stopped, so it's one of them. The track just starts drying out a little bit, but anyway, over the line, and we don't change. We're still P12. Because obviously we bumped down, but we made an improvement on that lap. We're not that far off the main field. It's one of them. I'm still getting my feet in the league. You gotta remember, this is my first ever league, and I'm up to 9 points in the championship. So yeah, it's one of them. I'm having fun, even though I may not be as high up as anybody else. But yeah, there we go. Confirmation, we will be starting 12th. Everybody obviously will be on new tyres, because we all qualified on inters. So, on to strategy then. On to strategy then, and yes, complete sun. So no problem about an interruption in the rain. But yeah, pretty mixed strategies. Now, I believe Liam goes on the hards first and then the mediums. So he does a sort of a reverse. He comes in a little bit earlier. But yeah, we do go with the mediums and then the hards. Purely because I don't want to do a two-stop. So into the race then. As you can tell, P13 has joined. Lights out. Not a bad start. But yeah, Oscar couldn't make qualifying. He's normally in a Ferrari as well, so ignore the Red Bull. But yeah, I get wing damage from Keelan in front of me. I just go straight into the back of him. He's not to blame on that one. But absolute carnage. So many people spinning out, so many people ghosting. I'm losing traction because of no front wing. Well, half of front wing. But we're up to P9, obviously understeering like absolute wano. Keelan as well and behind me. Now I do put up a fight as much as I can because I try and stay on the line, but I forget I've only got half front wing, so my plan doesn't go to plan. But it does mean I have to come in. So we have got a change of strategy. And I said I didn't want to be doing a two-stop. And we're doing a two-stop. Unintentional. Obviously, because crashes happen. You're not going to be able to avoid it being a league race. It's a case of it is what it is. But I come into the pits, not a problem. This is the pit that it shows you in the highlight video, and no speeding, which I'm really happy about. But I do go on to another set of mediums, which then lengthens my medium stint, shortens my harder stint later on. But we come out slightly a little bit closer to the Mercedes. So we've got a bit of a race going into turn 1. As well, being the Optric, you never know what his internet's like. So it's a case of he might just lag all over the place. But it unfortunately doesn't work out. He just goes. It's a case of sticking behind him and hope he just messes up, because the Optric tends to take himself out. I don't know whether you've noticed in the other races. He'll just drop down purely on his own accord. So it's just a case of sticking in P13 and hoping for something to happen. On to lap 3 then, P13, and as I've literally just predicted, Optric has spun himself out. He went a little too wide, probably got a bit on the curb a bit too much, and spun. Luckily he ghosts. I say luckily, I managed to drive around him anyway. But yeah, it's one of them, I knew something had happened, and it did, and took full advantage. Why not? What racing is, you're hardly going to wait for them to turn around and carry on. If they're going to mess something up, you're going to take it and go with it. So we've gone. On to lap 6 then, and obviously I've got all my front wing, so I defend against Liam the best I can. Now he's pitted, obviously, he's now on the mediums. Even though they're the same tyre, he's still very much quicker than me. He's on wheel. I'm on controller. There's no way of fitting a wheel in my room, unfortunately. So yeah, his closing speed's a lot better. He's more confident in the car. But it's one of them. We didn't go easy on each other. I try my best to put up a fight. Obviously, cut that corner again. I don't think there's really a lap that I don't. More often than not, I try and stick to the racing line. But obviously with Liam, I wanted to be a bit more ballsy. So yeah, he could have got me on the inside there. He sticks on the racing line with me. I end up cutting that corner a little bit, nothing major. But because he's within 1 second, he gets DRS. Now, there's no defending that. I'll quite happily defend normal corners. Defending against someone that has DRS and probably ERS. Now I derated. My ERS is on auto, but I somehow managed to derate. So I really was a sitting duck. But the thing is as well, there's no team orders, even though Liam is a co-owner of this league. There's no team orders, which we do have a bit of a laugh at. But it's one of them, technically he'd need to be in front of me anyway. I shouldn't really hold him up that much, because he's just a better driver. I'm not going to argue that. So it's one of them, he can potentially get higher than where he's now 10th. So, you know, if I end up finishing 11th, that's sort of my average at the moment. It's one of them, I'm a consistent 11th. But Liam, he can get high points, so it's one of them. To show him that I was defending, I put up a little bit of a fight, but nothing major, because I don't want to hinder our points. If it comes down to me holding him up and that losing him places, and then ultimately losing him points, I don't want that to be the points at the end of the season that makes it or breaks it. So yeah, it's one of them, I don't want to hit my own teammate, basically. Lap 9 then, and I have another person behind me. Now, I don't really know much about this guy. He's new to the league. He's been in pretty much most of the races, but I don't know his driving style or anything, but clearly it's a lot like mine, going wide, understeer, the lot, you name it. But it's one of them, I pull my own. It's one of them, I do defend a little bit of a nudge, but nothing major. He's still really close, hence the red proxy arrows. But I'd say this is my first proper little fight in this league that I've done. I am that concentrated behind me. I do miss a few apexes, probably most of the apexes. But yeah, then all of a sudden he just disappears. He's dropped back to like a second and a half away from me. But I'm guessing that's because now Bettman is behind him, because Bettman's pitted. He's now on the hards, so he's clearly going to the end on these tyres. So Greg and Bettman having a little battle behind. It'll just be an interesting one on who comes up towards later on in the race. A lap or so later then, so we're on lap 11, and yeah, Bettman got past Greg, and within a matter of 10 seconds caught up to the back of me. It's one of them, I kind of knew he'd get past Greg, because I believe this guy has a professional setup, so not just a little steering wheel and basic pedals, it's a full rig, professional, the works basically. So I knew this guy meant business. because I've now all of a sudden got another guy in my rear view, I start missing corners again. It's one of them, I half go into panic mode, because we have full damage on. I am very cautious on hitting my car, so it's a thing of I try and keep. That's one reason why I don't defend much, apart from I did close the door pretty darn good there, if I do say so myself. I try and not go full pelt into things. I try and think before I act, unlike others that just go all hell for leather. But yeah, it's one of them. I stick with it. I'm not gonna give up. I'm gonna push as hard as I possibly can without doing something stupid. Understeering like that won't help. Hence, now he's caught up. But as we go into the DRS zone, it's one of them. This is exactly where Liam took me. Why he doesn't close up quick, I don't know, unless he was out of the 1 second over the detection zone. But yeah, it's one of them. He's sticking with me. He's on the racing line. I'm guessing he's just trying to do my tactic and just wait for the person in front to cock up, which I don't blame him. If he hangs on a bit, I could potentially do anything, but it's one of them. He's still behind me, so all is good for now. Lap 14 then, and we've still got Bettman behind. Now, I hit my braking zone and follow the racing line as much as I possibly can. I'm not sure why he bails out of that. But it's a thing of I end up fighting again for position, and I'm really proud of myself for that one. It's a thing of I kept calm. I didn't go too wide. You know, this guy's been behind me for a good few laps, so the boost of confidence is just immense. But yeah, we are P10, but we are going to come into the pits. So I don't know why it says exceeding track limits. I think that's because I cut the corner going into the pit lane. But we didn't get a speeding warning or penalty, because they don't really give you warnings. They just give you a straight, here's your 5 second. But anyway, we're onto the hards. And coming out of the pits then, P11 down to P12. The electric goes past us, so unfortunately not a great pit stop to keep position, because he was quite a way behind. Greg quite a way behind still, so we shouldn't need to worry about that guy. The thing is, we're on lap 15 of 27 and Dioptric is on the softs. He's currently got the fastest lap, so unless that's what he's intending on doing, I don't know. Probably a bit early to go for fastest lap, but it's one of them. If you want to try and go for it. No harm in trying it at least. But yeah, Liam comes in for his pit stop. Obviously my pit stop got shifted a little later, but I believe Liam's come in when he originally planned, even though he already came in before. So yeah, it's one of them. P12, so we're okay. But yeah, back on my little lonesome. Lap 25 then. I've got blue flags because I've got about 3 faster cars coming up, and one of them gets spun. They tag the rear left of the car that's behind me and end up sideways, unfortunately causing a DNF, the first DNF of the race. So yeah, obviously ghosting is on, so Zach basically just goes through me. But yeah, Highbury, one of the racing points that ended up crashing out in the last race, has crashed out in this one too. So with the unfortunate events of his little accident, now puts us P10, and I feel really bad because he was doing so well, but he's now got no points, and we've managed to get into the top 10. So we are on our last lap. Obviously we've been lapped by quite a few cars, and we're going to finish P10 because of Highbury's accident in the last lap. So Haas goes over the line first, so Ninjas comes up race winner. We come onto the pit straight for the last time, over the line, and with everyone's penalties that get added on, Storm takes first because Ninja's got too many penalties. They've ended up 9/10 behind. So if they didn't have all these penalties, Ninjas would have won, which would have been a first for Haas. But yeah, Storm, go Harvey, taking the win at France. So there we go. After all penalties applied, I do finish 10th. Driver of the day is Oscar. Again, ignore the Red Bull. He drives for Ferrari, but he couldn't make qualifying, so I had to jump in a random car. AlphaTauri then taking the top spot, and the two Haas drivers taking second and third. So some decent points for Haas overall, but well done for AlphaTauri getting their first win. Final classifications then for the French Grand Prix, and I was one of the very few to not have a penalty. Me, Liam and Bettman, no penalties. As well as Storm, obviously taking the win. So ultimately, don't get penalties, you do pretty well. Or clearly not, seeing as me and Liam are pretty low down in the points. But nevertheless, some decent points. So guys, that was the highlights for France, and a bit of a boring race overall. I think I was on my own for quite a lot of it. The point, I don't really want to celebrate it. Highbury took an unfortunate knock with Zach, and unfortunately it cost him his race, let alone the points. But anyway, overall double point finish for McLaren, so that does help. However, we are joint second last with Williams, which is Keelan's team. We are on the same points constructors wise, so we both really need to up our game. I know Liam did miss a race, and I'm not that great, so at least we've got some points. If you want to look at latest points, go over to any of my social pages. There will be an update regarding race results and points every now and again, to keep you lot updated. So next race is Austria, and to say I didn't really know France, I know Austria even less. I have seen quite a few people play it. I've seen the Austrian Grand Prix live on TV, so I know roughly the layout of the track, but I couldn't tell you from personal experience on how I do. But anyway, feel free to join me for that race next Friday. Because the Euros are on, please do follow me on any of my social media pages, as races are subject to change for the timings on when they will be raced. As most of, probably about 90% of the league are English, we will not be racing on the Friday of the England-Scotland game, because that kicks off at 8. So that one definitely will be moved to the Sunday. As for the others, it will be purely week by week basis on when we can fit them in, basically. So guys, if you liked this video, please leave a like rating. If you're new around here, if you could subscribe as well, that would be even better. Next to the subscribe button is a little notification bell. Click that and that'll turn your notifications on. I'll let you know when I upload. So hopefully guys, I will see you in the next race at Austria over on Twitch on Friday. If not, I'll see you in another video. Bye.